and welcome to the Empowered Learning Podcast. This is your host, Andy Bennetts. On today's episode, we welcome a new friend, Mr. Kristian Moore. Kristian is an amazing, caring, intelligent, and forward-thinking leader in the AI space. He believes in the power of automation, in improving and crafting deeper human connections, and is the creator of many exciting systems making a huge wave in the space. Welcome, Kristian.
Hey, Kristian, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today, Andy?
I'm doing good. Are you staying warm in cold Colorado?
You know, it's a little warmer today. I mean, the yesterday was frigid, snowing. Right. It was like -6 all day long. So today we're actually above zero, so it's a good sign. Might dip back below, but it looks like we're on the up from here. How about yourself?
It's about the same. Still in Colorado, opposite side there, but not as bad as the folks out east that are getting, -20s and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, with that terrible wind out in Calhan and Peyton area for sure.
No, thank you. So
agreed.
But that's not why we're here to talk. We're not here to talk about weather. So Kristian and I have known each other for not very long. However, in the short amount of time that we have known each other, we've really hit it off. We've had a couple conversations about multiple things, which I can't wait to dive in with you to talk about a little bit later today. But before we get into that, if you wouldn't mind just letting the listeners know a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, that kind of stuff, and just kind of what led you to the point where you and I are on this Zoom call talking about cool education, AI, awesome future stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm the oldest of 6. I grew up in Colorado my whole life. Going through school, I was always very focused on the actual completion of the work, but less focused on the process of following the way of doing things. And that kind of has formed the foundation of the way that I tackle, marketing or technological issues, problem solving, and the solutions that I bring is kind of thinking outside of the box and focused more on the end result rather than the path that we get there. And that's not to say that there's not, ethics and morals and principles woven into it every step of the way. But it's also about finding the most appropriate solution for every situation, regardless of what maybe was done in the past or what was done, in even a year ago, and really starting with innovative strategies that meet with the market, that meet the businesses where they're at today. So, in a lot of ways, that's really what led us here to our conversation here today was an innovative solution that is specifically for Facebook lead generation. I was able to bring that to Jay Lee's, the sales ninja, his audience, and be able to showcase that for the individuals that were on that call. And it's something that is really changing the way that we think and connect with our audiences online, being able to implement automated solutions. So what it's led me to here is really kind of thinking outside of what was possible even a year, 2 years ago when it comes to online business, and really changing the name of the game when it comes to automations, AI, and the applications of them in business.
I love it. And I definitely want to get into just your take on AI, maybe dispelling some rumors, because people have some very visceral reactions when they hear AI. They go all the way to, Terminator, Skynet type deal to, this is an awesome tool that can help leverage. And I think probably I always talk about the pendulum, right? The reality is probably somewhere in between, right? It's not going to take over the world, and it's not also going to make us into, blobs and chairs that we don't ever do anything. It's probably, best guess is probably somewhere in the middle. And if we can leverage that in a way that maximizes our effectiveness, and I love your take because you are all about personal relationships, right? Rather than it taking away from the personal relationships, you're like, how can this get you in front of people and get just genuine reactions and genuine relationships built, started with that, and then get you in front of the right people. So I love that that approach.
Thank you. Yeah, and to really kind of address some of those concerns with AI, the biggest and most important thing on my side is if the people who actually care about that outcome and preventing some said Skynet or Terminator bots and killer bots and that type of thing, or even just the unethical application of tools like this, the people that care about that should be getting involved, because if they don't, look who's running that instead. And when we're talking about these types of tools, they are very powerful solutions. And I believe that the businesses that do adopt these and adopt these well, and even adopt these completely, will be the businesses that really shape the future of what we walk into.
Mm-hmm.
And we want those businesses to be staffed and to be led by individuals who actually have this heart of humanity at their core focus, instead of profits or cutting costs. Like, all of those things are fantastic when it comes to
Sure.
business. At the end of the day, though, we have to really consider the impact that we're having on our society.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this plays very beautifully into the topic of learning, especially as after COVID, we've had to shift from more in-person settings into online settings.
Yeah.
And I see AI being a big part of how that continues to develop in the future.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And again, I'd love to get back to the ethics side of things too, because I don't know, my science fiction brain or whatever kind of jumps to the worst case scenario. But you're right.
Yeah.
The ethics of that is probably a bigger issue than the world domination aspect of things. So, but before we do that, if you wouldn't mind, kind of tell me what led you down this path. I mean, you said you're born and raised in Colorado.
Yep.
Did you identify or that sounds weird? Did you kind of come across as kind of were you a techie guy? Did you like that aspect, computer engineering? Like what was your focus coming out of high school that kind of led you to this kind of awesome entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, so, even back in elementary school, I was very interested in computers, in the computer lab. My best skill set was in math, so
Okay.
very much thrived in that very much of a methodical, strategic, structured environment of the rules and the laws of mathematics, and then also then how computers function. I remember actually getting in trouble with my elementary school, even in just some of the things that I accidentally found myself doing, which was one of them was activating remote control of the computers in the computer lab. I taught a couple other kids how to do it. They ended up deleting people's work, and I took the fall for all of them. So little things like that where I just was able to understand and kind of intuitively navigate through these systems. And really kind of as we got into middle school and into high school, my father, he's a UX UI developer. He taught me how to code, taught me how to do just basic website stuff, and it was a little outdated when he was teaching me. There was drag and drop builders by the time I was learning, and so learning HTML and CSS wasn't quite as valuable or applicable.
Right.
But it formed a foundation for understanding like kind of what goes on behind the scenes of these drag and drop builders, of these things that we have now.
Right.
And so coming out of high school, I actually didn't have much direction. It took me a little bit to get my bearings and get my focus back. But the thing that really kind of set me on this path of heading into marketing, heading into these types of solutions was starting my own business in nutritional therapy. So I was actually focused on holistic health from a foundational perspective when it comes to diet and lifestyle. And in trying to get my first clients, I struggled with the marketing aspect. I struggled with the topic of client acquisition. I don't even think I knew those words back then, much less how to do it.
Sure.
And so after going around and trying to ask for help and trying to get people's help and not finding anything, I actually had to kind of shift gears and close those doors and no longer offer that as a service to clients. But it really opened my eyes that, this is something that a lot of people don't really understand, and a lot of the answers I was getting in my local community was, oh, referrals, 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 referrals. But referrals aren't not in the control of the business. It's all dependent upon what's sent your way, what's given your way. And instead of relying solely on that, I was thinking, how do I create a way for me to have consistent flow, consistent quality, leads or prospects or whatever we want to call them, that are coming to me because of efforts that I'm in control of, that I can control to increase that flow, lower that flow, whatever I need to do for the business demands and the needs. And so when I got into marketing, it was first focused on copywriting. So I did some training in copywriting, training in kind of direct response, cold outbound outreach.
Okay.
And the very first business meeting I went to under that business was a BNI meeting here in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
And that BNI meeting, I was a guest, so I had to wait my turn. And the members are going around, and the fourth member that stood up, his name, I'll call him John for this story here.
Okay.
But he stands up, and he's a 60-year-old contractor. And this was right at the beginning of the year, probably about, March 2023.
Okay.
And he stands up and he says, I used ChatGPT to write all of my emails this morning in 5 minutes. And my whole pitch coming into that meeting was, I can help you save time as a business owner and help you increase connection with your audience by writing your emails for you. And now my job was suddenly taken by ChatGPT.
Right.
And instead of responding in a way of like, oh no, that shouldn't be, or I don't think that's right, or I'm gonna go find people who don't know about ChatGPT.
Right.
Instead, I, dove even deeper into AI. Even at that point, I had been about 5 months into building custom applications for using OpenAI's API backend, which is their developers platform.
Okay.
And I just kept going when it came to AI solutions, really finding a way to be open and transparent about the way that it could be used, educating businesses about how it could be used rather than hiding it from them. A lot of what I saw in the marketing scene at that time was, shh, don't tell them about ChatGPT, don't tell them about ChatGPT, because as soon as they found out, then they're like, they wouldn't need you. And my argument was, well, they only wouldn't need you if you were lying to them about the usage of ChatGPT.
Sure.
Whereas if you were to be open and upfront about them, yeah, there might be some kind of disconnect as far as, okay, so now what does your service entail? But there's still going to be some optimization or some additional training or some additional value that you can provide
Right.
even in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what shifted the gears for me, was really seeing a big need among entrepreneurs and among business owners to have these types of solutions made simple instead of them being technical, instead of them being complex, making them super simple and straightforward. And that's what really led to these custom AI solutions, and even also on the other side, this lead generation software of multiple, shapes and forms. So long story short, it was, a natural skill that I had started with. And then as I grew into that skill, seeing the impact of AI very early on businesses, and being of the choice of adopting in that curve rather than resisting it.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's a perfect lead into kind of my thoughts as you were mentioning that, is that I heard someone say a while ago that technology is like waves, right? I mean, and so stick with me here. Like, imagine us as either late adopters or early adopters walking into the first 4 or 5 feet of the break of the waves coming in. You can either choose to go with them and surf that and use that, or you can fight against all nature and lose and try to stop it. And I honestly feel like there are so many people that are either set in their ways or out of fear or whatever the case is, that are literally just fighting against this wave that there's no way on God's green earth that they're going to stop it. But by God, that's not how he did it. So we're just going to fight against that. And you hate to see that, but those are, my estimation is, those are the businesses that are not going to be around in a few years. If you can't adapt and overcome and leverage rather than limit, your days are numbered.
Seriously. And that's the case no matter what type of technological innovation we're talking about, but especially in this with AI, it's at a rate, it's speeding up at a rate that is exponentially faster than anything we've ever seen before.
Yep.
So I 100% agree with that statement there.
Love it. It's funny, like as you was listening to your story, it's kind of one of those things, and I think this is true of many, inventors or entrepreneurs, is that, when you identify a solution or a problem, rather, it sounds like you were kind of going in thinking it was going to be this, and when you didn't find the solutions that met those needs, you asked for referrals, you asked for the different ways to do that, and either people were, I'm sure with best intentions, saying, hey, this is how I did this, but is that a dated methodology as to how this works? Have we really adopted and started using the latest and greatest to make what we used to do that took 20 hours, and I can do that same thing in 1 hour, right? Yeah,
Precisely.
Yeah,
and so and that's kind of what I'm even seeing, especially since the introduction of AI, is a very quick outdation. I don't know if that's a word. I guess
I'm gonna write it down. Outdation. That is thus far
essentially a wide use, a lot of usage of these outdated methods that were not outdated 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago.
So true.
And I think it's from a not fully realizing how quickly the markets have changed and been impacted by AI. And that's really to add on to my made up word here, rapid outdation. AI is what AI is called.
Hey, there we go. Now got an acronym.
Where it's basically put these ways of doing things, whether it's content creation or outbound lead generation, cold messaging, it's taken those things and scaled them to a level that's been kind of really like inhuman. Like, it's just how much the scale is ridiculous.
Right.
And with that, has then come rapid innovation on top of those things. And so then the methods that people were potentially using even 3 months ago
Right.
to generate leads or to acquire clients, but especially when we're talking about 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years prior, we're talking about we're literally in a whole new world at this point. Yes. Um, and so, that's one of the things that I've seen the biggest of, especially, like I had shared with you, being in the high ticket coaching space and working with a lot of those guys, is that the same methods that earned them hundreds and tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars, into the millions, don't work anymore, and they're having to find and invent new methods. And the worst part is if they're teaching those methods, they're finding that their students are not getting those results that they're looking for.
Right.
And so that's really comes down to, I think, just like I said, a lack of realization of how much has been impacted by AI. And that's, I mean, I'm a part of that impact now. I'm a part of kind of that disruption. And so it's from my inside perspective, I can see pretty clearly those businesses that are relying on old methods, and it's only a matter of time. Just like you said, days are numbered.
Right. I completely agree. So on the learning side of things, I would love to get your take, just because you are a leader in this space, and like you said, you are riding that wave. You're on the front edge of this rather than lagging behind and getting beat up by the waves. Students, I'm not imagining that we have too many students, but maybe we have some parents out there that are listening to this that may have, I'm included here on this, we have some young entrepreneurial kids that are coming up. What suggestions and what advice would you give someone coming into the workforce? Do we go down the college path where we spend hundreds of $1,000s on a minimal return on investment as far as jobs go? Do you dive just into learning and diving into stuff? I realize this is a very broad question. It's hard to answer this question, but what if you had kids, Kristian, where would you direct your kids at this point, knowing what you know in this space?
Well, and I'll be transparent with you. I have two daughters. They're still not
Perfect.
school age,
There you
but
go.
getting there. They're going to be getting there. But I am going to, and obviously the world will be very different in about 3 to 4 years when they're at that school age. But at this point, if my kids were school age, I would still be limiting the amount of time that they spend on the screens, just for the healthy development of their brain. But I would be using and leveraging the skill sets of specifically no code solutions for software as a service would be what I would be teaching them. Because being able to create solutions for businesses or even consumers in the form of applications or web-based services is surprisingly easy in comparison to how easy it was 6 months, even a year ago, even 5 years ago. As far as a lucrative business model, it's one of the most powerful because it's the most hands-free. You're selling software as the service instead of a service that requires your time. And you're able to create these products very, very, very quickly. The other benefit of that is that it positions your child or even yourself as a developer of products that will be using AI and will be built on AI, rather than creating or being involved in industries that will be overtaken or impacted negatively by the presence of AI. So when it comes down to, what I would develop, what I would focus them on is I would, start with their strengths, start with their skills, but I would be pushing them towards some aspect of teaching them how to leverage technology to develop solutions for people and for businesses, cheaper than obviously they can charge for it. The basic principles of business here. But yeah, definitely would not be sending them to college. I don't believe that that's going to be a viable outcome, for the kids that are going through. Like, I look at even the kids that are even my age. I myself am only 26, so very much still college age, if you will. Like, maybe I would be kind of on the senior side of that, but nonetheless, I look at the kids that are going through college now, and what they're learning is based off of things that don't involve the actual applications of AI that are taking place now. And so when they get out of college here in the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, they're going to be coming out into a world that in a lot of ways won't need the skills that they just plug their brains with. And yeah, there will be some pieces that will be necessary, but especially now more than ever before, I think it'll be an unfortunate awakening that hopefully will initiate some refunds from these colleges, but I don't know if that's how it works.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
No, no. Or maybe some, governmental legislation that rescues them. But
There you
at
go.
the end of the day, like I said, the opportunities that they're being trained up for, they are not applicable and what's going to be our world in the next 6 months to next year.
Right. I completely agree. I completely agree. Um, I actually heard something the other day that was on the news. I forget the percentage. I'm going to say 50%. And let's pretend like that's way too much. Let's even say 30%. 30% of careers, jobs, entry level positions that used to require a bachelor's are now dropping that because they realize that I would rather get somebody in there that knows how to work, that will learn the skills that I need them to your point, not all of the, and I don't mean to give college a bad rap. I went to college. It's great, for depending on the avenue or the job that you want to go into, it may work really, really well. I completely agree with you. If you're, on an entrepreneurial path, learn the skills from people that already know that, come under them as an apprentice or whatever the case is. Find a corporation or a business that values hard work. I talk to my boys about this all the time. If you show up, if you work hard, if you are easy to talk to and work with, and you get along with other people and you're reliable, you are ahead of 90% of the people entering the workforce. And maybe that's delusional, but that's what I see from the outside looking in, is that there is a vast need of just hard workers that are willing to work and learn new skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I would argue that that's even what sets the people apart who are able to make it successfully in the entrepreneurial space, is literally just being willing to put your head down and do the work that's necessary, to do the work that's in front of you.
Right. I agree.
And now, a brief commercial from today's sponsor.
Hey guys, Andy Bennetts, owner and president of Interactive Learning. Our awesome little company has been around for close to 20 years now, and our core purpose and mission is to empower the future of education with innovative solutions through engaging technologies and leadership programs. We are blessed to work with a wide range of markets, including K-12, trades, corporate, and government. Interactive Learning is also proud to serve our nation's JROTC programs with over 3,000 units and 500,000 cadets. For our podcast listeners today, we have a special offer just for you. It's called our Class Tech Discovery Session. This is incredibly helpful for teachers, administrators, tech personnel, really anybody involved in helping students learn with technology. Here's what you get with the Class Tech Discovery Session. It starts with a short Zoom call. We'll talk about your class needs, your wants, desires, really your class wish list of ed tech. Then we'll touch on your timelines and budgets, plus any constraints that your district might be facing. Next, we'll look at new tech and new solutions, the latest and greatest out there that might be applicable to you and your district. And if you're interested, we'll even demonstrate these crazy cool, cutting-edge technologies just for you. Finally, we'll give you an idea of costs and professional development and how we and our team will support you moving forward. Again, that is Interactive Learning's Class Tech Discovery Session. Request your session now by texting Discovery to 970-739-2229 or emailing Discovery to andy@intlrn.com. Request your school's highly informative Class Tech Discovery Session today.
And now, back to the Empowered Learning Podcast.
Well, Kristian, tell us more about this amazing systems. I have it written down here, like the smart systems. We're calling it smart systems because it's not just one thing. It's a whole automation suite of products that are kind of tailored towards coaches, but anybody that's really wanting to make a splash and a reach out into Facebook, soon to be LinkedIn, but wanting to network and getting the right people in front of them. You've got some amazing tools. So tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, so one of those tools is Easy Messenger. Easy Messenger is a Facebook-based software that does automatic appointment bookings based on the audience that you're searching for. It's all tailored to your business. The one that you referenced with LinkedIn, also going to be getting those same functionalities and same features, just on LinkedIn instead. All automatic as far as, getting those leads, messaging them, and then putting them onto your calendar. The system that I'm paying the closest attention to right now is a system that actually is functioning on a voice call basis. So
Okay.
basically covering end to end, from start to finish, appointments and even potentially sales, leveraging voice call AI, leveraging text-based AI, leveraging email-based AI. That's all two-way conversational, designed to book appointments and to close sales on your behalf for your business. In all honesty, about a tenth to a 20th of the cost of what it would take for implementing human involvement in those roles.
Right.
So that's the most exciting part, because not only does it promise a consistent flow of leads, a consistent flow into your business, exactly what I described was the problem at the beginning of my journey, but also for a cost that that really has never been possible before. So that end-to-end system is designed, like I said, to qualify, to book, to retarget, and to work off of cold and warm leads, also perform customer service roles, also perform potentially coaching roles, where you have coaching assistants that are operating within your business that are able to be accessed 24/7 with the same knowledge base that you hold. I'm working with a couple of people on that process of bringing their knowledge into a form that can be leveraged by AI, but very much a resource that can be leveraged to lower the cost for their clients and improve the experience, improve learning, improve the outcomes, because it has that constant back and forth feedback and support that's not just search query related, but rather conversationally delivered in a way that our human brains they love.
Can't keep up. There's so many good things. I love it. It's fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, you and I have kind of chatted about this before the podcast, just because I, as a business owner, I'm very interested in the solutions that you have. You didn't tell me all the good stuff about the voice and the text. My goodness, it just where does it end? Right. That's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'll switch roles. I'm no longer the host. I'm now, the president of a company that is trying to get the amazing products and solutions that we have in front of the right people. That's great. And there's probably a million of those people right now that are having those same aspirations, but also the same restrictions of time and expertise. So what it sounds like, Kristian, is that you're going to kind of partner with people to help leverage AI to get these awesome solutions in front of the right people. And I think, and you mentioned it, but I want you to kind of double down on this, the idea of qualifying leads, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense if I'm getting 10 new leads in every day, but none of them have really any interest of the product and the solutions I have. That's almost more of a waste of time than it is a possible, positive solution.
Right. And I remember being on sales teams where they had a flow of leads, but there was no qualification process for those leads. And so I'm getting onto sales calls, with these individuals, and I'm like, all right, so this is what we're going to go over. This is what I want to talk to you about today. They're like, wait a minute, what business are you representing again? And who are you? And what do you guys even do? And so you're having to set the entire frame that should have been done well before they ever even had the opportunity to book a call with you, much less at least after the book call, right? After they place that appointment. But so it's all in the conversational booking, asking those qualifying questions on your behalf, tailoring the conversation to how they respond. And like I said, now we have the ability to do that over the phone. So it's not just now text-based, but it's also voice-based. So we can do voice calls out to businesses or out to consumers. And follow those up with text retargeting, follow those up with email retargeting, and be able to have two-way conversational qualified bookings taking place on multiple channels, depending on the customer's preference even, but then also depending on the way that they respond to us. Right. So if like one person responds here on the email, we'll turn off those other channels, or if they're not responding to any of them, or if they tell us they prefer to be reached by call, we can meet any of those preferences and tailor the conversation, tailor that experience specifically to that individual every single time, just like a human would, except there's no human needed in that process.
Right.
And that goes to support that facilitation of connection.
Right.
Because instead of having those inundative activities of doing the appointment setting or in finding the leads and finding the numbers to call, now we can do all of those pieces automatically and just have calendars be filled with qualified people who want to learn more about your service, who know who you are and are interested in discovering more.
Right, right. Well, I cannot imagine that anybody that is remotely in the same vicinity as I am, as far as, wanting to grow a business, but just having the limitation of time, limitation of resources. I can't imagine them not being like, oh my gosh, where can I find out more? Where can I sign up on this? We'll put all of that in the show notes. So, Kristian, be careful what you ask for, because I'm thinking that your calendar is going to blow up with the said solutions that you have offering other people. So I'm super excited to work with you, one, and to see what amazing new products and solutions you have in the pipeline. Because just from a few days ago, I found out about voice and text. My goodness, where's it going to be in a month?
Certainly. And that's the part of kind of staying focused, in our initial conversation, staying focused on the specific thing, because there's so much, and at the end of the day, I'm inundated in this world, and it's something that I'm very much used to. But then when I bring other people into it, it's very much just an overwhelming experience that I try to avoid creating. I want it to be something that actually is relevant and more importantly is able to be digested well, instead of causing it's like it's almost like a brain stomach ache. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I prefaced our call before we hopped on and started recording that I would imagine that just the introduction and just getting to know you a little bit and getting a precursor of all the fun stuff that you're going to do is going to gobble up our time just like that. And lo and behold, here we are 30 minutes in, and it's already we're already there. So if you wouldn't mind coming back at a later time, and we can dive into some of this other stuff later, because you know what, in a month, there's probably going to be 15 other things that you couldn't share now then. So would you be willing to come back and share more with us later?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Awesome.
Yes. Lots of time, lots of interesting things for me, especially. Definitely want to make sure we cover on that next one, the impact of AI on learning and on educational systems, because I think that's going to be also a dramatically impacted space.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm per our usual here. I've got it off to the side here. We're going to do our little spinner here. I'm going to grab a question here. This is the grab bag aspect, and then we're going to dive into our 3 questions that we ask all of our guests. So, question 15. Let's see here. There we go. So, in your magic crystal ball here, Kristian, where do you see your industry of AI in 5 to 10 years, and what challenges or opportunities do you foresee? I know we're talking about now, but if you can envision a world 5 to 10 years down the road, where do you think AI is going to be then, and what challenges or opportunities do you see?
I see AI being completely integrated into just about every aspect of life, from medical to educational to business to personal care, really every area of life to have some presence of artificial intelligence. With that presents the challenge of preserving the art of human connection and preserving the actual essence of what I believe we're here put on this earth for, which is to connect with each other. I think also there's a challenge surrounding connecting with nature and bringing and integrating nature into those things.
Okay.
But more than that, I think that it presents an opportunity for us as humans, as the race of the human being, to really go beyond the limits and the barriers that we once had, whether those be age related or disease related or physical limitations that we experienced, that we always had as normal, but now have the ability to be kind of lifted off of us.
Right.
In addition to some of those concerns, obviously with every power comes the potential for abuse of that power. So I see a very high importance on ensuring that the people that are involved in facilitating and in developing these technologies over the next several years, that they have the support that they need, and that they're in a position where that there's transparency and accountability in the way that these things are used and leveraged. And I think that'll be always an issue. It's always been a present issue in human society. Any position of power is always going to have the flies of corruption swarming around it. And it requires, active active shooing away, you know, of those flies
Mhm.
in order for them to stay off of the pile. So
I love it.
that's what I see.
I love it. Really good. Really good. Thank you for that. That was fantastic. I'm excited for our next conversation. We haven't even finished our first one. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I
All right.
agree.
The three key questions that everybody on the Empowered Learning podcast gets are as follows. Mr. Kristian, who is the leader that you most admire and try to emulate?
Oh man. Let's see. Hmm. I think the leader that I try to emulate and model the most is Jesus Christ. And the reason why is because for me in my life, you know, I've walked a journey of many different shapes, colors, places it's taken me. And one of the things that I've learned the most in
Mhm.
that process is the power of unconditional love.
Mm.
And whether, you know, you believe Jesus is your savior or you believe he's God or not, it's less about that and more about the story and the message and the way that he lived that life. And I see that acknowledgement from religions all over the world, from Muslims to Buddhists, you know, regardless of their backgrounds.
Right.
And for me, being able to emulate that well, regardless of who I'm speaking to, their
Mhm.
status, high or low,
Right.
how they treat me, being able to take those words of wisdom of, you know, do unto others what you want done to
Mhm.
yourself,
Right.
turn the other
Right.
cheek, love one another as I have loved you. Powerful things to live up to. And I don't do it perfectly, but being
Mm.
able to see that example, you know, again, whether people you believe it's a fictional story or not, it's still something that we can take and learn from, and it's definitely transformed my life personally.
Absolutely. Well, I'm right there with you. I learned something new about that. You'd think that we would have had that conversation, but I love it. Thank you for that. That was great.
You're
All
welcome.
right, question number 2 here. While I'm erasing this, I'll let you think about it. What learning? This is going to be a fun one for you, my friend, just because you probably have more information coming into your brain in a week than most people do in a year. So, looking back at 2023, what is the learning that most impacted you?
Hmm. I think the thing that I learned the most about was the art of human connection
Okay.
and the ability to connect with people, to find common ground. You know, I garnered a lot of that from experience and being exposed to tons of different personalities in business, both locally and online. In addition to dealing with customers of all shapes and
Sure.
sizes, sales training helped a lot with that type of
Mhm.
thing. You know,
Right.
understanding of rapport, understanding how to develop those things, and understanding how other people are perceiving, you know what I mean? Perceiving the
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm saying or how I'm
Right.
communicating, and being a little bit more sensitive to that two-way communication and feedback. A lot of my life, I think, socially was something I did not have as a strong suit, and in a lot of ways, I didn't care too much. You know, I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
carried on and did my own thing, and was again very technical mind, kind of nerdy, and so very much was able to just kind of carry on, but
Mm-hmm.
being able to really get into, you know, I definitely wouldn't call myself a master of it, but getting into some level of expertise with being able to connect with people and to bridge those barriers as well as to facilitate reconciliation and reconnection when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a beautiful journey in that regard.
Well, Kristian, you just have so many layers, man. This is so much fun. I've enjoyed this conversation like more than you know.
Good. I'm glad.
I love it. All right, last question for you. How would you empower learning for future generations? So I know that a lot of the conversation we've had around AI has been in the business world, the marketing world, but you did touch a little bit on how that might impact education and learning. So whether you're thinking of your own girls or just education in general, how would you empower learning for future generations?
I would focus heavily on strengths, you know,
Okay.
ignore those things that are weak, and find the people that can fill those weaknesses with their strengths rather than trying to focus on developing weaknesses. I remember when I read the Gallup's you know, strengths finder,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked about in the first, you know, little bit, they're like, why do people spend all their time developing these weaknesses when they could double down on the strengths and experience exponential growth instead? And more importantly, when we're addressing our weaknesses, it's almost like we're trying to balance ourselves out, And so instead of balancing ourselves out, what if we went polarized and went on the side of, doubling down on those extreme aspects of our personality,
Right.
obviously not in any type of abusive way.
No.
But then instead of trying to find everything within our one self, being able to leverage our relationships and other people who excel in those areas so that we can each operate in our own zones of genius,
Yeah.
that are based on those inherent strengths we were born with. I point to RPG games like Skyrim, and it would be as if you built an orc, this heavy duty orc, and he was skilled and naturally skilled in wielding two-handed things and heavy stuff and heavy armor. And then instead of going along those strengths, you instead wanted to make him a sneaky thief or an assassin, where he's now trying to sneak around and,
Right.
these leather suits, and he has
Yeah.
no advantages that he was born with. But
Uh-huh.
he's a balanced character, Now you have
Right.
actually a weak character that's
Right.
that's not going to be able to perform well, and honestly might be quite disappointing in the end.
Right. I love the analogy. I'm gonna have to share that with my boys. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I totally know that." I mean, it makes sense even if you haven't played that game. But that's a very good picture. I can see an orc trying to be a spy. It's just not going to work very well. So I love
I
it.
mean, I tried it.
Did you try it? Okay, well, I've never tried that. I love it.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I love it. You mentioned Strengths Finder. I know we're kind of wrapping up, but when we're done here, I've got to connect you with my good friend in the Denver area. I bought interactive learning from him. His dissertation was on strengths, the Strengths
Oh,
Finder.
good.
You guys would hit it off. You guys would be long lost friends. So I'll have to connect you with Dr. Huff. That'd
Yes,
be great.
please. Yes,
Awesome.
please.
Awesome. Well, Kristian, thank you so much for your time. I guess before we go here, like I said, I am going to put it on the show notes here, but if people are, not if, when all of the people that are listening to this are interested and want to find out more, how would you recommend that they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Well, if it's business query related, specifically to the lead generation stuff that I referenced, consistentleads.ai is going to be our website there. You'll be able to get a little demo booked. You'll be able to experience what the AI can do for you, and kind of get a feel for how powerful these solutions could be for your business. If it's a little bit more general based or on different topics that we've covered, find me on Facebook is going to be the best way. My name is spelled with a K there, Kristian Moore. And then my business name inherited, I got it from my father, is Creative with an 8 instead of an AT. So More Creative is the business name. So if you go into Facebook and Kristian Moore Creative, that's the Facebook handle there.
That look great?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Nailed it.
Very good. Well, Kristian, thank you so much for your time, buddy. This has been an absolute joy. I can't wait to have to get this one out there because I think everybody's just going to eat it up. So thank you so much for your time, man.
You're welcome. I'm glad. It was a pleasure, Andy. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.